Once upon a time, there was a family that seemed to have everything anyone could wish for. Ricardo, a successful businessman, his wife Maria, and their daughter Lara lived in an impressive mansion surrounded by lush gardens. Every morning, the aroma of fresh coffee mingled with the scent of the flowers that Maria tended to with such care. Ricardo, with his confident smile and calm demeanor, would leave for work, where he managed a business empire. Maria spent her time on arts and philanthropy, attending charity events and working on projects that warmed her heart. Lara, a charming teenager, was always involved in various school activities, dreaming of a bright future. The family enjoyed luxurious dinners prepared by their personal chef, unforgettable trips to exotic destinations, and intimate evenings on weekends, watching movies in the mansion's private cinema room. Their daily life was filled with harmony, luxury, and seemingly unshakable happiness. They were admired by everyone around them, not just for their wealth but for the unity they displayed. Friends and neighbors saw them as the perfect example of a prosperous and happy family. Life seemed like a modern fairy tale, where each day was another chapter of prosperity and joy. However, as life often reminds us, not everything is as it seems. Perfection often hides secrets and challenges that no amount of money can solve. And for Ricardo, Maria, and Lara, the toughest test was yet to come, ready to transform their lives in ways they could never have imagined. The family's perfect routine began to crumble one morning that seemed like any other. Ricardo woke up with a persistent stomach pain, something he initially ignored, attributing it to work pressure. Maria, worried, insisted he see a doctor, and after much persistence, he agreed. At the doctor's office, the physician, with a serious expression, ordered a series of tests. Days later, the phone rang, and Ricardo was called in for an urgent appointment. Maria accompanied him, and both felt anxious in the waiting room, sensing the weight of an unknown worry. When the doctor entered, his expression already betrayed the gravity of the situation. With a firm but compassionate voice, he informed Ricardo that the tests revealed advanced stage cancer. It was terminal. The shock was immediate. Ricardo's world seemed to crumble upon hearing those words. Maria, beside him, held his hand tightly, trying to absorb the devastating news. The following weeks were a whirlwind of emotions and difficult decisions. Ricardo tried to maintain his composure and routine as much as possible, but the chemotherapy sessions weakened him. He felt his body grow frailer, but his spirit still fought. Lara, still young, didn't fully grasp the severity of the situation but sensed the tension in the air, watching her parents with inquisitive and worried eyes. Maria, meanwhile, began to feel the weight of uncertainty. She, who had always been the emotional rock of the family, now found herself lost between the fear of losing her husband and the responsibility of taking care of their daughter. With each passing day, the gravity of the situation became more real and palpable. Ricardo, a man used to having control over everything, now faced his own mortality. He spent sleepless nights reflecting on his life, his achievements, and most importantly, the future of his family without him. The diagnosis was not just a sentence for him, but a cruel twist of fate that would affect everyone around him. However, amidst this chaos, Ricardo decided he wouldn't give up without a fight. He cherished every moment with his family, every smile from Lara, every gesture of affection from Maria. The battle against cancer was not just against the disease, but also a fight to keep the family unity he had always cherished intact. The weeks dragged on, and the weight of Ricardo's diagnosis began to affect every aspect of family life. Maria, once the unshakable rock of the family, started to crumble under the pressure. Nights were spent awake, with silent tears and troubling thoughts. Fear of the future and anxiety about the present consumed her mind. In a moment of desperation and weakness, Maria made a decision that would forever change the fate of her family. The conversation was cold and cutting. She told Ricardo she could no longer bear the situation, that she wasn't prepared to face the pain and suffering that would come. Ricardo, already weakened by the illness, listened in silence as Maria explained that she needed to leave, needed to distance herself to avoid being consumed by despair. Lara, still young and innocent, was caught in her mother's decision. Maria believed that by leaving, she was protecting her daughter from imminent suffering. But deep down, she was also thinking of herself and the financial security Ricardo's inheritance could provide. With tears in her eyes and a heavy heart, she packed her bags and left, leaving Ricardo alone to face the toughest battle of his life. Ricardo, shocked and devastated, watched as his wife and daughter walked out the front door, his world crumbling a bit more with each step they took. The house, once full of life and joy, now felt like a cold and empty mausoleum. The days that followed were lonely and painful. He was fighting not only the disease, but also the feeling of abandonment and betrayal. Maria and Lara moved to a luxury apartment in another city, hoping that the distance would provide some emotional relief. They tried to continue with their lives, but the shadow of their decision haunted them. Maria especially couldn't escape the guilt she felt for abandoning her husband when he needed her the most. Time passed slowly. Ricardo faced his treatment sessions alone, with only the nurses and doctors for company. He clung to memories of his family, recalling happy moments, trying to find the strength to go on. The loneliness was relentless, but he refused to give up. Meanwhile, Maria and Lara, despite their material comfort, lived in a sort of emotional limbo. Life without Ricardo was not what they had imagined. The weight of guilt and the awareness of her selfish decision gnawed at Maria day after day, turning what was meant to be an escape into an emotional prison. Time was ticking, and fate still had surprises in store for this broken family. Maria's decision and the consequences of her thoughtless act would be felt by everyone in ways they could never have predicted. Maria and Lara's departure left an unbearable void in Ricardo's life. Alone in the enormous mansion, he faced the cruel reality of his illness and the weight of abandonment every day. The mornings, once filled with joy and activity, were now silent, filled only with the sound of his own thoughts. Ricardo adapted to a new routine. His days began with visits from nurses who took care of his medical needs. The chemotherapy sessions were exhausting, draining his energy and will to live. However, he clung to a silent hope, an inner strength that refused to completely give up. In the midst of his struggle, Ricardo found a new purpose. He started writing letters to Lara, trying to convey all the love and wisdom he couldn't share in person. Each word was an effort to keep the connection with his daughter alive, so she would know he never stopped loving her, even from afar. Meanwhile, Maria and Lara were trying to adjust to their new life in the big city. Maria threw herself into her philanthropic projects, trying to fill the void she felt with work. Lara, on the other hand, struggled to adapt to her new school, new friendships, and the absence of her father. Ricardo's absence weighed on them in different but equally painful ways. Nights were the hardest. Maria often found herself awake, reflecting on her choices, feeling guilt eat away at her soul. Lara, in her room, cried silently, clutching the letters from her father that arrived weekly, each one a painful reminder of the man she loved who was far away. Time passed and their routine became an emotional prison. Maria and Lara were surrounded by luxury, but happiness was a distant memory. The shine of wealth couldn't erase the darkness of guilt and longing. Each day Maria questioned whether she had made the right choice, if the material comfort was truly worth the emotional sacrifice they had made. Ricardo, on the other hand, found an unexpected source of strength in his solitude. Through his letters and memories, he began to realize that despite everything, there was still beauty in life. He befriended the doctors and nurses who became his new family, offering support and care when he needed it most. The new routine brought a different kind of grief for everyone. It was a mourning for the life they had lost, the choices they had made, and the opportunities that would never come back. But in some way, it also brought a deeper understanding of what truly mattered. And while each of them faced their own demons, fate still held one last surprise, a chance for redemption and transformation that would change their lives forever. Amidst the despair and loneliness, something extraordinary began to happen in Ricardo's life. The chemotherapy sessions, which had previously felt like an endless battle against cancer, started to show surprising results. Ricardo, weakened but never defeated, noticed small improvements in his body, though he initially hesitated to believe it could mean anything more. One day, during a routine checkup, the doctor entered the room with a look of astonishment mixed with joy. He held Ricardo's latest test results in his hands. With a trembling voice, he explained that the tumors had significantly shrunk, something he rarely saw in cases like Ricardo's. The hope that had been nearly extinguished by the devastating diagnosis began to rekindle. With each new test, the results were even more promising. Ricardo didn't want to cling to false hopes, but it was impossible to ignore the signs of a possible recovery. He held on to life with greater determination, finding strength in the small daily miracles his body presented. Months passed and the news spread among the doctors and nurses caring for Ricardo. What was once considered a terminal case was now being described as a medical miracle. The tumors continued to shrink until finally, a test revealed there were no more traces of cancer. Ricardo was cured. The news was met with tears of joy and disbelief by the healthcare professionals. Ricardo, emotional, could hardly believe it. The cure was more than a triumph over the disease. It was a second chance at life. He vowed to himself that he would never waste a single moment again, that he would live each day with the intensity and gratitude that a second chance deserved. Ricardo decided to turn his experience into something positive, something that could help others. He began to share his story, inspire other patients, and support cancer research. He became a symbol of hope and resilience, a living testament that miracles can happen. Meanwhile, Maria and Lara, still living in the big city, continued with their lives, unaware of the miraculous transformation that had occurred. They carried the weight of their decisions, not knowing that Ricardo not only survived, but thrived. He in turn chose to move forward without bitterness, but with a renewed sense of purpose and freedom. Ricardo's recovery was a miracle that changed not only his life but the lives of everyone around him. He was now a different man, stronger and wiser, ready to embrace life with all his being. And as fate continued to weave its web, he knew he was prepared for whatever came next. Ricardo felt each day as a precious gift, a new opportunity to live fully. With the miraculous recovery, he rediscovered joy in the simple things that had previously gone unnoticed. Walking through the mansion's gardens, feeling the warmth of the sun on his skin, and even savoring a cup of coffee were moments of pure gratitude. He decided to make significant changes in his life. He sold the company that had once consumed all his time and energy and dedicated himself to causes that now mattered more to him. Helping other cancer patients became a mission. He founded a charity that provided emotional and financial support to families in situations similar to what he had faced. During one of his visits to the hospital to share his story, Ricardo met Anna, a woman who had lost her husband to cancer and devoted her life to caring for other patients. Anna had a generous soul and a resilient spirit, and the two connected in a deep and unexpected way. She understood the pain and joy Ricardo had experienced, and her presence brought a new light to his life. Ricardo and Anna started spending more time together, finding comfort and inspiration in each other. Walks in the parks, long conversations under the stars, and moments of closeness created a special bond. Anna not only understood his scars, but also encouraged him to look to the future with hope and enthusiasm. Meanwhile, the charity flourished. Ricardo used his experience and resources to create support and research programs that made a difference in many lives. He organized fundraising events, participated in motivational talks, and actively engaged in cancer awareness campaigns. The impact of his new life was visible in his demeanor. Ricardo's eyes shone with renewed vigor. His smile was more open and genuine, and his heart was full of purpose. He had not only survived cancer, he had been reborn as a new man, determined to make a difference in the world. Anna became an integral part of this new life. Together, they not only shared a deep love, but also a common commitment to turn pain into hope. Ricardo felt that for the first time in a long while, his life was complete. Ricardo knew that life was unpredictable and full of twists and turns, but he was ready to face any challenge that came his way. With Anna by his side and a clear mission in his heart, he was prepared to embrace each new day with gratitude and determination. Ricardo's renewed life was not just a testament to overcoming adversity, but also a celebration of love, hope, and the transformative power of resilience. One sunny morning, Maria and Lara were sitting in the living room of their luxury apartment when unexpected news reached them. A family friend, who still kept in touch with Ricardo, casually mentioned that he was not only alive, but had also miraculously been cured of cancer. The revelation was a shock. They had believed that Ricardo was destined to die and that they had made the right decision by leaving to protect themselves from pain and suffering. The news stirred conflicting emotions in Maria. The relief of knowing Ricardo was alive mixed with guilt and shame for having abandoned him. Lara, on the other hand, felt confused and hurt, feeling betrayed by her mother's choices. Seeing the opportunity to correct her mistakes and regain what she had lost, Maria decided it was time to return. The trip back was silent, filled with unspoken thoughts and emotions. Upon arriving at the old mansion, Maria and Lara were greeted by an unexpected sight. Ricardo standing beside Anna, both laughing and talking with a joy Maria hadn't seen in a long time. The mansion, once a place of sadness, was now full of life and warmth. Ricardo was surprised to see Maria and Lara at the entrance but kept his composure. Maria, trying to hide her anxiety, approached with a forced smile. She began to speak, explaining that she was sorry for what had happened, that she was relieved to see him well, and that she wanted to rebuild the family. Ricardo listened in silence, his gaze steady and impassive. He had been through so much, and the return of Maria and Lara brought back painful memories. But now he was a different man, strengthened by adversity and the new life he had built. Maria, realizing that Ricardo wasn't reacting as she had hoped, began to mention the inheritance, trying to use the financial argument as a bridge to reconciliation. Ricardo, however, was no longer driven by money. He had found something far more valuable: peace, purpose, and true love with Anna. Lara, observing all this, felt a mix of relief and sadness. She knew her mother was motivated by selfish interests, but she also desperately wanted to restore her relationship with her father. With tears in her eyes, she approached Ricardo and apologized, explaining that she had never stopped loving him. Ricardo, touched by his daughter's sincerity, hugged her tightly. He knew Lara was a victim of the circumstances and Maria's impulsive decisions. He promised her that he would always be there, but he also made it clear that the life he had rebuilt could not be undone. Maria, realizing that Ricardo would not forgive her easily, felt a wave of despair. She had returned expecting to find a broken man and a guaranteed inheritance, but instead, she found a stronger and more independent Ricardo than ever before. Anna, by Ricardo's side, represented not just a new love, but also the strength and resilience he had gained. Maria's self-interested return turned into a confrontation of realities. Ricardo, now in control of his own life, chose to move forward with Anna, without bitterness, but with the certainty that his future was with someone who truly cared. The mansion, once a symbol of wealth and power, was now a home of love, hope, and new possibilities. The presence of Maria and Lara in Ricardo's mansion brought a palpable tension. Although Ricardo had forgiven Lara, he kept a cautious distance from Maria. He knew her return was motivated more by self-interest than genuine remorse. Anna, always by Ricardo's side, offered unconditional support, aware of the emotional complexities he faced. Days passed, and the interactions among them felt like a delicate dance on thin ice. Maria tried in every way to reconnect with Ricardo, but he remained firm in his decision to move on. Then, on a quiet night, the unexpected happened. Ricardo was hosting a charity dinner at his mansion, an event to raise funds for his foundation. Friends, doctors, and patients were present, celebrating life and hope. Maria and Lara were there too, trying to blend in with the guests and regain a sense of normalcy. During the dinner, Ricardo took to the improvised stage to give a speech. He spoke about his journey, his battle with cancer, and how the experience had transformed him. Amid words of gratitude and encouragement, he announced something that left everyone stunned. He would donate a significant portion of his fortune to charity and other social projects that support cancer patients and their families. Maria turned pale. The inheritance she had coveted was being directed toward noble causes, not her selfish interests. But Ricardo wasn't finished. He revealed that during his months of solitude and struggle, he had rediscovered the true value of life and love. And with that, he made another shocking revelation. Ricardo announced that he and Anna were engaged and planned to marry the following year. The news was met with applause and congratulations, except from Maria, whose face was a mask of shock and disbelief. She realized she had underestimated Ricardo, believing he would remain stuck in the past and pain. After the speech, as the guests mingled and celebrated, Maria approached Ricardo in a final effort to change his decision. With tears in her eyes, she begged for a second chance, promising to do anything to regain his trust. Ricardo, looking deeply into Maria's eyes, spoke with calm firmness. "Maria, life has given us many chances and we made our choices. You chose to leave when I needed you most, and now I choose to move forward with someone who stood by me. True wealth isn't in money, but in the people we love and who love us back. I wish you find your peace and happiness, but my path is different now." Maria, finally understanding the depth of her choices and their irreversible consequences, left the mansion with Lara. They not only lost the inheritance but also the opportunity to rediscover the true value of family and love. Ricardo's life, renewed and full of purpose, moved forward with Anna by his side. Together, they continued to make a difference in many lives, showing that even in the worst adversities, it's possible to find hope and redemption. Thus, Ricardo's story was not just about survival, but a celebration of rebirth and the transformative power of true love. And what would you do in Ricardo's position? Would you live your life without regretting the past, or wait for Maria to come back and rekindle the romance? Comment below with what you would do, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this.